Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Rewatch Season 2. This is episode 12, the penultimate episode of Lucha Rewatch Season 2. And on today's episode, we are going to be covering Lucha Underground Season 2, episodes 23 and 24. As you can tell from the title, and I believe the tweet that I sent out as well, we got some really fun matches between these two shows. Episode 23, we had a pretty fun match between Puma and Azteca, and a solid match between Phoenix and Mundo. And then episode 24 was part one of Ultima Lucha Dos. And we had the For a Unique Opportunity tournament. So, John, let me know, what did you think of these two shows?
Oh, I thought episode 23 was a great go-home show, quote-unquote, before Ultima Lucha Dos. And day one of Ultima Lucha Dos, I mean, it was just straight in-ring action. I think it was a great tone setter for the rest of the event. See, I think this is a great pair of episodes, personally. What did you think about it?
Yeah, my friend, I quite enjoyed it. It was you called it a go-home show, and that's really apropos because it really was that.
Exactly. Definitely had that distinctive feel. But I've got no preliminary remarks to make beyond that. So unless you do, we can get right into this.
All right. Well, then let's get right into it. We open episode 23 with, of course, the recap. We go over the Mil Cuerno thing and Six to Survive, and then Prince Puma cutting his promo from last week. And then we open up with a cool announcement that we're going to be getting Drago, Phoenix, and Aerostar versus Worldwide Underground for the trios titles at Ultima Lucha Dos. And then we get right into our first match of the night, King Cuerno versus Mil Muertes.
Yeah, I thought this was a great opener, but before I go in depth with my thoughts, I want you to share your own. What did you think about this match?
It was fun, man. I mean, it's crazy to me that we got angry about the result of this match, because to me, it makes sense. Cuerno didn't beat Mil Muertes, he caught him. And yeah, I mean, Muertes is literally seeing red. He's caught up in this crazy, angry death rage. So it would make sense that Cuerno, being the cunning hunter, would be able to take advantage of Mil's sloppiness and catch him with a roll-up. And he cheated, too. He used his feet on the ropes.
Yeah, you articulated my sentiments perfectly. I feel like this match is a great contrast between the calculated calm of Cuerno versus, the raging emotions of Mil Muertes. And I felt like the use of the chair was perfect, because we had the ref bump and everything. And, Cuerno introduced the chair, and I love the spot where he hits Mil, straight on the skull. And Mil's just like, that happened. And, Cuerno's just like, oh, shit. And then, it breaks down. And then it's Muertes, though, who doesn't get rid of the chair because God knows when you look like he does, you don't need a weapon. Instead, he wedges it in the corner, and then he tries to send Cuerno into it. Cuerno, though, has the presence of mind to stop himself. Muertes tries to charge, and then he misses. So, again, his skull makes contact with the chair, but at full force because he charged at Cuerno. And then, as you said, Cuerno just stacked him up, feet on the ropes, gets the 3 count. So, yeah, I felt like this is a great interplay between Cuerno's cerebral nature and Muertes just being that very passionate, almost like Cage was in season 1. Just kind of, I want to hurt this guy, I want to maim this guy, consequences be damned kind of attitude.
Absolutely, yeah. Cage was more dumb than just aggressive, but yeah, Mil is definitely being really aggressive here.
Absolutely, and it cost him, and you could see he was really irate after the match. I love that Cuerno was pretty much just slinking slowly up the steps because he's like, all right, I'm done. I did my thing tonight. I'm in the monster's head. And Muertes, he just wanted to keep going. So again, great dynamic there.
And you got to appreciate Katrina holding him back too.
Oh yeah, because that's another subtle reminder of the power dynamics of this relationship, right? It's not overt. It's not in your face. It's just that little, now wait, we pick our spots, remember? And that's why she is the brains of the operation, because if she wasn't, and I'm going to be honest, if she wasn't, you got to wonder about the win-loss record of Mil Muertes, because he was guided, again, by his own brute strength and everything, and it cost him. He needs those eyes and ears, and I think that was brilliantly illustrated here.
Awesome, yeah. Okay, so after Cuerno kind of sneaks away with his win, we go into Dario Cueto's office, and we've got Taya and Ivelisse each sitting next to each other in chairs, and Cueto kind of addresses the hostility between them, and then he says, there can only be one, how do you put it, baddest, and then Ivelisse chimes in with, bitch! And Dario's just like, yeah, that. And he sets up a match between the two of them for Ultima Lucha Dos. And yeah, he says we'll see who's going to be the baddest woman at Ultima Lucha Dos. So then, as they're getting up to walk out, and Ivelisse passes by the doorway, who should show up but Katrina herself, who we were just talking about? She shows up. Ivelisse, as she passes by her, says, "Don't think I forgot about you, bitch." And I feel like Ivelisse is literally just freaking, what's his name from Breaking Bad?
Oh, Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah, the way she overuses the word bitch. But then, yeah, Katrina in Cueto's office demands a death match between Mil and Cuerno, and Cueto, before the mention of deathmatch happens, he's like, oh, you're joking, right? You tried to take over my temple and you expect me to do you a favor? But then deathmatch gets involved and he just can't help himself but get off to that, so he does it.
Yeah, he cannot resist that boner. It's like, damn, did I pitch a tent just now? But you know what, bro? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like season 2, one big highlight of it, which I want to address here, because I wouldn't want it to fly under the radar. I think they kind of took their cinematics to the next level in the sense that they kind of seamlessly blend into one another, like the famous B ad into El Dragon Azteca Jr. and Rey Mysterio training. And then this here, like Ivelisse and Taya have a meeting, but then Katrina interrupts, and that connects all those points. I really like that the cinematics did it this season. I think it's been a continuing trend in season 3. And it's just so appreciated in times like this because you have Ivelisse and Taya in their own world, you know, hashing out their own beef. And I love just Taya's facial expressions throughout the whole thing. I even tweeted after we watched this, like, I love that Taya's face is just like, para por favor, which is also the name of her finisher. And Ivelisse, of course, is just angry, like you said, the female Jesse Pinkman, throwing out bitch wherever she can. And yeah, we get that match.
I'll tell you what, man, that dress that Taya was wearing, that shit was painted on. That was freaking tight.
Yeah, it was, man. I'm telling you. Remember, people, Johnny Mundo is legitimately dating that, and I am so happy for him. So yeah, it's amazing. Two great athletes, you know, being able to kind of come together for Ultima Lucha Dos with this kind of beef. And then I do love that little bit though between Katrina and Ivelisse. Oh, I haven't forgotten about you. And you know, just walks out. And then yeah, also plays on the history of Katrina and Dario, which I mean, yeah, I just love how everything connects in a universe as wild and as vivid as this one. It manages to keep itself grounded in moments like this, kind of reminding us.
And it's so funny that you just said everything connects.
Yeah.
Because the literal like slogan, catchphrase, whatever you want to call it, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is everything is connected.
Yeah. I'm in between Marvel and, of course, that show you and I fell in love with Dirt Gently. It really is that idea, like, everything is connected. And I think definitely LU subscribes to the same kind of sentiment. And it pays off brilliantly here. I enjoyed this cinematic. Got me hyped to rewatch both of those matches. And, yeah, just great stuff from everybody involved.
Yeah. All right, well, now that we got that done and taken care of, we can get into our sort of double main event in a way, because up next we had our Prince Puma Azteca match, and this was a lot of fun. This was, you know, there were a lot of near falls. I remember at one point Azteca hit a victory roll bomb that looked like it could have beaten anyone, but Puma kicked out. And obviously Puma does end up winning because you can't have him lose to the student on his way to fighting the master, but it was still a really hotly contested match. So, John, why don't you fill everyone in on your thoughts on this match?
Oh, well, brother, first and foremost, I mean, once again, you articulated my sentiments perfectly. I mean, obviously, we knew how this match was going to go. However, and see, this is where I really love pro wrestling because, I mean, you've heard the debate we all have. You know, is it too predictable? Does it need to be more unpredictable? I really don't care about that. What I care about is even if I feel like something's going to go a certain way, I enjoy the journey and I'm invested in the journey. And I really do have to give credit to Puma here because, I mean, first of all, Azteca was on point. His offense was gorgeous in this, between that satellite DDT, which may be the best DDT in the business right now, given that it's kind of making a comeback with Alexa Bliss also using it as a kind of finisher. I think that satellite variation is just, I mean, hot damn. Victory roll bomb, that's a move that will never not make me smile because it just looks gorgeous. But where I really want to give praise here, because it's the little things, I don't think I talked about this the first time we watched it. Puma's body language was excellent here because the faces he made every time it was a 2 count made you know, like, okay, this Azteca Jr., he's tougher than he looks. And even Puma was kind of taking him lightly because he's like, wait, that didn't win it? That didn't win it? And it was just like, what do I have to do to beat this guy? So through his facial expressions, Puma really let everybody know, yeah, El Dragon Azteca Jr., he's the real deal. He's no joke. He's somebody to look out for. And I really appreciated Puma putting him over that way because obviously he couldn't put him over in the match. He had to win given the greater build. He was still able to give Azteca Jr. something. And that's when you know you're a next level performer in this business, at least in my opinion. So I really wanted to comment on that. That's my contribution to this.
Yeah, brother. So yeah, this was a lot of fun, the match. And then afterwards, Puma kind of did a little bit of a strange stare down with Ray, kind of almost in a sense saying, look, man, this is going to be you next.
Yeah, I love that. I love that he kind of just pats him on the shoulder like, hey, bud, hey, you know, when he wakes up, just remember, that's you. And then Ray's like, oh, no, you did not just put your hands on El Rey. And, you know, it just kind of turns Puma around. They have a face-to-face. I got to say, for his little build as this match is going to get, because I think they were banking on it's Rey Mysterio versus Prince Puma, you know, that name kind of value. I still like the little things they did here. I felt like Puma facing Azteca was a brilliant choice. And then in the post-match, you see this interaction. I just thought that was so well done. So kudos to these guys for sure.
Definitely. All right. So up next, we had a kind of interesting little non-match fight brawl introduction to a concept segment. Cueto comes out and introduces the For a Unique Opportunity tournament with Matt Cage, Son of Havoc, and Tejano. And then he encourages them to get a head start on each other, and then we get the big brawl.
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much what you said. Not really much to add here. These guys have a skirmish of which Cage stands tall. You know, very cool. And will he do the same thing at the For a Unique Opportunity tournament on night 1? Well, we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. So for now, I've got nothing else to say about this. Unless you have anything to add, we can move on.
All right, then we have our main event of the evening, Johnny Mundo versus Phoenix.
What did you think about this main event?
You know, I honestly thought that this could have been a lot better. It wasn't bad. It was one of those things where the best match of the night to me was Puma Azteca, and given that this went on after that, I was hoping that this would really get like a good amount of time and really kind of step it up. And it was like a step down from Puma Azteca, so I was a little bit disappointed. Still a solid match, and I think they ended up having another match in season 3 that ended up being actually better than this, if I remember correctly.
And you know what, bro? Even me as the maniacal kind of Mundo mark, I agree with you. I do feel like Puma Azteca was match of the night. That said, I just can never not appreciate the heel work of Mundo, because here's a guy in his match with Phoenix. He's doing all the cool stuff, right? Like you see his flash kick, his running knee. He does a springboard, like corkscrew cross body at one point that I'm like, damn, that looked gorgeous. And Phoenix as well, you know, doing all of his aerial finesse and everything. That's just incredible. I've always said I may not care for Phoenix's character necessarily, which hell, I mean, I'm very curious for the second half of season 3 to see what he does. Maybe his stock will kind of rise for me. But, you know, in ring, he's always been solid. But I love that Mundo can go toe-to-toe with guys like that, and yet he always resorts to the heel tactics. I love heels like that you know could be capable of winning within the confines of the rules, but they're like, fuck it, that's too much work. So, you know, Phoenix gets a top rope Spanish fly at one point, And he's got the leg hooked. Taya's providing the distraction because who wouldn't be distracted by the perfect woman? Am I right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, Phoenix is like, oh, come on, man, I won. And Mundo, all the while, is getting his third of the trio's titles, clocks Phoenix right in the skull. And I'll be honest with you, because Phoenix is so OP, I was even questioning, like, wait, does the match really end here or did he kick out? But Mundo did get the pin. So I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And it was a great time for everybody. So great job for Mundo there winning. And then in the post-match, Worldwide Underground comes out. They celebrate, as Matt Striker calls them, the Cantankerous Quartet. They do their little pose, which is just amazing.
Striker's obnoxious.
You know what? I actually appreciate his commentary, but I'll get into that in a few minutes because it wasn't here. It was for episode 24, but again, we'll get to that. And they're just stomping away at Phoenix, like any other Worldwide Underground victory ritual when you're picking on the weak. And then all of a sudden, Drago and Aerostar just decided that they were going to make it their business. So then they come out and, they start evening the odds. And then Evilise comes out and she's just like, oh, well, I'm going to do something too. Does a double leg takedown to Taya, starts beating her up. Then it seemed like Worldwide Underground regained the advantage because you got Jack Evans doing a handspring back elbow to Evilise. It seems like they're regaining ground. But then the Super Friends, Drago, Aerostar, and Phoenix, they even the odds once again. They send Worldwide Underground out of the ring. And then Taya gets left alone. And I thought they were really going to beat her up and beat her down, but Evilise just grabs her and throws her out. So, yeah, the Technicos stand tall, but Rudos last forever. So, great way to end episode 23. Do you have any concluding remarks before we transition here?
No, I just I love that. Even though you had all four of them out there, and then like the Lucha Super Friends come out, I just love that Evilise comes out just to really kind of make things nice and even. I honestly, at this point, I kind of had it in my head that like, man, I want a 4-on-4 match between these 8 people, but we never really got that, did we?
No, we didn't, but I feel like that would have been exceptional. I feel like Lucha Underground, what I don't praise enough of all the things that I heap praise on, is how they do multi-person matches. I mean, obviously they have their trios division, which is fantastic, but yeah, when they really up it and you've got like 10-man tags or 8-man tags, like it gets crazy. So I feel like that would have been a tremendous match. Maybe one day we'll get it, but it certainly wasn't today. With that said, let's get right into episode 24, Ultima Lucha Dos, Part 1. And partner, I'm going to hand the reins over to you. How do we open this baby up? And whatever we opened up with, what did you think of it?
It's not really what we opened up with. It's what the entire show consisted of. And that was the For a Unique Opportunity tournament. We started things off with the Mac versus Cage. And before the match even has a chance to start, Cueto comes out and makes it Falls Count Anywhere, because things that worked once are obviously always going to work every time after that if it's the same way anyway, right?
Absolutely. And partner, let me ask you, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit because I already know my answer to this, which is why I'm asking. Do you feel like this was better than their Ultima Lucha match last year? I mean, if you can remember it at all distinctly.
No. I mean, it was still really, really good. Like, this was like, I'd say like 85% of their first match if I had to grade them. Like, if the first match was like a 9, this was like an 8.
Oh, okay, because I actually thought this was better than their first encounter. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I mean, talk about maximizing a stipulation. But you know what? Before I get ahead of myself, please continue sharing your thoughts because I want to know your full range of thoughts on this match.
Oh, no, this match was a lot of fun for sure. Like, no doubt about that. But I've actually, since we watched this match, I've actually gone back and watched both of the Falls Count Anywhere matches that, between this one and the one at the first Ultima Lucha. And yeah, I do think the first one was better. Not like significantly better, like I said.
Right.
Like, I would say that like if I had to give them grades, like I would say that this was about 85% as good as the first one, which is still like it's still a really, really good match because like the first one was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel like this it almost hit the same beats too much. And I also feel like the finish wasn't amazing just because it involved slipping on beer and like that's kind of whatever. Whereas with the first one, it had a very decisive I literally just put your face through a cinder block finish. Like,
yeah.
That was, and that moment too was such a huge shock to most of the people watching. It was like, holy shit. But yeah, man, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I mean, and that's why I'm really glad to get your thoughts like that, because your criticisms are warranted. I would give you that. I think that's certainly fair. And I'm not saying the first one didn't, for the record. I just admire how they really maximize stipulations. You know, because, yeah, I mean, it is false count anywhere, so you think, oh, are they going to go out into the street? And, you know that they're not going to do that. No false count anywhere match is going to do that. But at least get creative with how you're going to put your guy away and pin him. And they certainly did. I mean, we had pinatas. One pinata had a freaking wrench in it. We had guitars. We had beer. We had really everything here. And I love that. I love the imagination. That's really the word I would use here. Very imaginative kind of opener. And that's another thing. I don't think you could have had a better opener for night one than this, because with how colorful it was, again, with the pinatas and the other objects, and how vivid and creative, some of the spots were, that really gets people in the mood. That lets you know where you are. You're at Lucha Underground's biggest show, Ultima Lucha Dos. And yeah, these two guys, to me, they tore it up. I love that Mac, he tried going for the stunner, the first time. Cage blocked it and he fought it off. Then later, Mac would do the frog splash, off the stands of the Believers into the table, to Cage. And then, like you said, because you mentioned earlier, we do get a repeat of the finish, except with the biggest difference being Mac is able to slip out and roll up Cage for the win. I personally really appreciated that callback, because I guess it was just Cage saying at that point in the match, well, I know what'll put Mac away, because it put him away once before. And then Mac's just like, nope, and he gets out of it. And the look on his face after that 3 count, with the eyes just bugging out of his head, knowing what he avoided, like, way to sell it, Mac. Great shit. Great shit. I could not stop smiling watching this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was still a lot of fun. I think my favorite, like, WTF moment, really it comes down to 2. First of all, the stop sign, because that stop sign over the Mac's head looked so painful. And then, of course, the other one being the piñatas, because a wrench, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And then Cage tries opening his, and it's candy. Aww. Oh, man. But you know what? I was really happy. Like, I remember the first time watching this, I was so happy they took a chance on Mac. Because, again, even though I know, like, well, I mean, I won't get too tight-lipped. There are sometimes people that I'll root against because they're going against people that I like. But in general, objectively speaking, I adore Mac. I really adore everybody here. And I was so happy to see Lucha Underground take a chance on him and have him advance. I thought that was cool as hell. And he celebrates with a cold one. And yeah, just the mood and the tone, like, it just gets you jazzed up because you know where you are. So really fun.
Absolutely. I'm talking to chat real quick. Anyway, back to the business though. As you mentioned, I believe the Mac picked up the win here, and as I mentioned, it was because Cage was going for another curb stomp and slipped on beer.
Exactly.
So the Mac comes out of this match the victor, and then we get right into our second match of the night, Tejano versus Son of Havoc. But again, Dario Cueto comes out. Regular match isn't enough. This is the For a Unique Opportunity tournament. It needs to be a bigger deal. And when he sees a biker and a cowboy, he thinks of a bar fight. So this match is a Boyle Heights bar fight.
Am I the only one that seemed to appreciate this match more watching it again? Because I feel like I was like, it was good the first time I watched it, but I was like, yeah, I really enjoyed Falls Count Anywhere better. And I still do. I still think that was the better match. But yeah, I came away from this appreciating it a lot more. What did you think?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this was a lot of fun. Was it as good as Matt Cage? Not necessarily, but that's just because I feel like there was more like Matt Cage told more of a story, and this is more of a spot fest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And you know what, though? To me, it makes sense because with Son of Havoc and Tejano, that was a first-time meeting, whereas Cage and Mac know each other intimately well. So it was imperative that it would be story-driven, given their history. And yeah, I felt like for being a spot fest, it was really well done. I mean, goddamn, dude, they had a great comedic spot with Son of Havoc wearing like a fire helmet.
Yes, the fireman's outfit, and then the fire extinguisher, and then the vodka bottle that he no-sold.
Exactly, and you know what though? It was a clever spot that made sense. I like the ingenuity in it because Son of Havoc isn't a monster like Cage, but hey, he can no-sell something if he has enough protection on him, and he did with that hat. So that was really cool. When he back body dropped Tejano into the minibar and just shattered the minibar on his back, that was fucking brutal. Really appreciated that. And then, of course, dude, that ending sequence where I'm just going to stomp all these bottles into glass, all these shards of glass. And then Tejano, he gets his arm in it. And then Son of Havoc, pump kicks his back into it. Oh, God. Really believable finish to me. Great stuff from these guys. It was a kind of a kooky stipulation, this kind of bar fight. I mean, not nearly as kooky as insert something on a pole match here. But yeah, I mean, for what it was, I think they made the most of it, and I really enjoyed that finishing sequence again of just Tejano, his back falling into all that glass. Like, damn, that was brutal. So yeah, Son of Havoc wins. He goes to the finals to face Mac. Do you have any other thoughts you want to share about this this barroom brawl here?
Nah, man. I mean, the one moment to me that really stands out is when, oh God, I forget if it was I think it was a Hurricane Rana, when Son of Havoc ended up doing something to Tejano that knocked Tejano into just that pile of broken and shattered wood. Like that actually got to me even more than the shards of glass, because with that wood, I've dealt with splinters in my life, and it's awful. And I imagine that would have been there's no way to avoid splinters in that situation. You just can't. It's just going to happen. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Right. And
so,
yeah, man, crazy shit.
All right. Well, after this, we know that Son of Havoc and the Mac are the two finalists. So they are coming out. I think they actually had to come back out. Son of Havoc went to the back and then had to come back out for the match with the Mac. And the Mac came out, and Cueto came out again. And he said that his unique opportunity this time was so great, so freaking awesome, that he had to up the stipulation again. These guys are going to have to work for it. And he made this another Falls Count Anywhere match. Man, he really loves seeing the Mac just work his stuff outside of the ring, doesn't he? Because this is the third Falls Count Anywhere match the Mac has been in. And I think this is actually the first time that any single performer in Lucha Underground had been in 3 of the same type of stipulation match ever.
Yeah, you're right. It's so
Johnny
crazy.
Mundo, by the end of the middle of season 3, had been in 3 cage matches, but he's the only other one that I can think of that's had that consistency. Well, and of course, you have Muertes with the Grave Consequences and the death matches. So that's three different instances of people who have been in the same type of stipulation 3 different times, but the Mac was the first to do it with Falls Count Anywhere.
Look at Mac blazing that trail.
Yeah.
I gotta say, if I'm being honest, not that this was a bad match, I was still hoping, because I think I remember vocalizing this the first time when we were actually live reacting to it. I was really hoping for Last Luchador Standing or something, because those two had already been ruling.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I was really hoping for Last Luchador Standing. And again, that's not to do a disservice to these guys. They still put on a fun match. But I'm like, man, the story to me should be that they're both so fatigued, but yet so close to, again, the ultimate of unique opportunities. And yeah, just to do Falls Count Anywhere again, I'm like, that's fine. But, and again, you actually make a great point that could also be turned into a criticism, because doing Falls Count Anywhere, that's in Mac's wheelhouse. So, I don't know. I feel like Last Luchador Standing would be more even terrain. I don't know, but we got this match, and what did you think of it?
Oh, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I think this match actually was better than the Tejano Son of Havoc match, believe it or not, but it was shorter. This was a much quicker match, and it was just there was just no kind of build-up period. This was just straight to 5th gear from get-go.
Right. Absolutely, because, these guys knew what was at stake. I mean, great back and forth between these two. I mean, and you could really see like the fatigue. I think Mac wanted to end it early, and every time Son of Havoc kicked out, he would just be like, "Oh, come on, man. What's it gonna take?" And then there was one great hope spot for Mac where Son of Havoc tried going for the shooting star press, and Mac got his knees up, and he immediately cradled him, but it only got like a 2 count, like 2 3/4, and Mac again, just his face was like, "What do I gotta do?" In the end, though, no matter what Mac did, it wasn't good enough. I mean, Son of Havoc would get him in place again for the shooting star. He'd connect with it the second time around, and that would get the 3 count. So Son of Havoc won the For a Unique Opportunity tournament. And I remember when we were live reacting to this, I was fucking ecstatic because I'm still really big on Son of Havoc. I think Matt Cross is just an amazing performer.
Dude, it's crazy because they really did pick the perfect trio to be the first trios champions, that first team, that unlikely trio. Because like you say, oh yeah, I still really love Son of Havoc, and so do I. But then I'm thinking, man, imagine if Angelico had been healthy and been able to compete in this tournament. And then it's just like, but wait a minute, Ivelisse is probably one of my favorite, if not my very favorite, female in the Temple as well. So yeah, they got a great trio for that team. And Son of Havoc, yeah, man, he picks up the big win, wins the big For a Unique Opportunity tournament. And I have to emphasize the For every time because that's what Cueto set it up for. And then Cueto comes out and immediately allows Son of Havoc to make his choice. And that's right, this opportunity is actually a choice between a briefcase of $250,000 or the less, I guess you could say, fortunate prize, but the more sentimental prize, the opportunity to main event Ultima Lucha 3, which apparently is freaking incredible, but we haven't seen it yet, and we will see it in like October, sadly. So we got to wait a long time for that. But yeah, Son of Havoc, John, you're a big fan of, taking things that have immediate value over sentiment value. So I'm curious what your thoughts were on Son of Havoc's little decision here.
Oh, I personally loved it. I mean, look, you're not wrong in your assessment of me, right? But to me, if you're in this universe, any wrestling universe, you want to be the best in it. And Son of Havoc is like, you know what, that 250,000 in the Luchaverse, I feel like he'd go through that money in no time because it is a crazy fucking place. I don't think that money lasts. But the chance to go to Ultima Lucha Trace and to become the champion, I mean, yeah, that's huge. And you know what? I love that was one of the offers on the table because Ultima Lucha is still a concept. Like it's 2 years old at this point, but I would say it's like still in its infancy. Like it's not there yet with the WrestleManias or the Wrestle Kingdoms of like WWE and New Japan respectively. But just giving him that chance at that main event, that lets you know, like, yeah, it is the biggest fucking deal. And I hope one day, we're sitting here and we're talking about Ultima Lucha, 19 or 20 or however you say it in Spanish. And yeah, I just thought that was really cool. And Son of Havoc, I agree with him wholeheartedly taking it. Unfortunately, though, you choose what's behind door number 2. Turns out this is also somebody waiting for you to kind of pummel you for choosing that door because Dario informed Son of Havoc, oh, well, since you chose that and you're not taking the money, fine, I guess we'll see you in the main event Ultima Lucha Trace if, oh, god damn it, you win one more match. And Ashton, if I remember correctly, I know you had a little mini freak out over what resulted here, so I'm going to give the reins to you because who makes their presence felt here?
Well, I mean, before we get to that, I also just wanted to kind of address, in hindsight, I almost feel like Son of Havoc didn't even necessarily make the most babyface choice here. I feel like the most babyface choice here would have been the $250,000 because then he would have had the ability to say, I don't want you to just give me the main event of Ultima Lucha 3. I want to earn the main event of Ultima Lucha 3. I want to spend season 3 working my way into that spot. I don't want it to just be gifted from me on a silver platter for winning this random tournament that has nothing to do with the world title. So to me, that almost would have made more babyface logic sense. Would have been to be like, well, Cueto, I know you expect me to get all sentimental and take this title match, but I'm going to take your money from you and screw you over, while simultaneously saying that, no, I don't want to be handed anything on a silver platter. I want to work for it.
That's a very unique take on the situation. I appreciate that. I want to ask a follow-up question, though, like kind of unrelated to this guy. I just want to like test the boundaries of that logic. How do you feel about baby faces like in WWE who win Money in the Bank and they do cash-ins on weak opponents? Do you think that's also like unethical for the baby face?
I think
cash in for.
To me, a babyface Money in the Bank holder should only ever cash in on opponents ahead of time. Like, basically treat it like the gift of the gods, where you have to announce that you want the match rather than waiting until the week.
Very interesting.
I think there are very few exceptions to that. I think, honestly, Ambrose is a bit of an exception because he has never really been that, like, pure White Knight style babyface. He's always been kind of like almost like a chaotic good. Like he's, like he's kind of a dick a lot of the time, even if it does happen to be the bad guys. So yeah, like that, to me, that made more sense. But in general, I think your baby faces should be cashing in ahead of time.
Interesting. No, I really appreciate that perspective because I've never looked at this segment, bringing it full circle with Son of Havoc, that way. So yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree, but it's definitely given me something to chew on, for sure. And really is inconsequential, though, partner, because, man, did Son of Havoc... Well, I mean, I would say that he flatlined, but that would seem more to hint at Mil Muertes. Let's just say that thank goodness there was a doctor present, or maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, Famous B comes out because that's the big reveal, kind of. He comes out and he's like, oh, what's the matter, Son of Havoc? Is your stomach sick? That's okay, because there's a doctor in the building. And then he turns around and it's my new client, Dr. Wagner Jr. That was awesome. I love the reveal. And yeah, man, this was great. It was cool too because like a month-ish after we watched the Lucha Libre World Cup, which stirred up memories of the first Lucha Libre World Cup, where we had a trio involving Dr. Wagner Jr. It made me think of him. So yeah, like I recognized the tattoo work almost. It's not really tattoo work, but like the decals on the sides of Famous B's jacket on the sleeves. And I was like, man, those look familiar. What is that from? And then it clicked like a split second before he said there's a doctor in the building. And then when he said there's a doctor in the building, I freaked out on live reactions.
Yeah, dude, this is a great fucking moment. And just when he turned around and you saw that artwork, you're like, oh shit. And what I love about this too, can I just say again, because we have to treat things like in their own universe, like with New Japan, obviously the big deal is the big Japanese stars. WWE has got their legends, but so does Mexico. And I love that this was a big fucking deal. I love it. I love that it was like, holy shit. Even Matt Stryker, and that's what I was going to say. I feel like his commentary for night one, I enjoyed it, particularly, for the opener, because he really just didn't give a fuck. He was having as much fun with it as anybody else. But I like that, though, because it shows what kind of atmosphere Lucha Underground is. And then, like, with the Dr. Wagner Jr. reveal, he's like, oh, is he here? And, like, that excitement in his voice, like, no way is he here right now. So I love that they treated Dr. Wagner Jr. like the biggest possible deal. I thought that was wonderful. And, man, is that guy ripped? Like, god damn, is he in shape? And yeah, man, just a great debut. And what did you think about the quote-unquote match between him and Son of Havoc?
Well, I love that Son of Havoc got his hope spots in. That's always a lot of fun to see. And yeah, man, like, he really didn't have much of a chance. He had already been through a bar fight and a Falls Count Anywhere match, and like the combined weight of his two opponents was probably like 550 pounds. Like, those guys are so much bigger than him, and he had to fight through that. And like, yeah, to me, I love that in Lucha Underground, it actually is possible for the odds to be so stacked against a babyface that they can't overcome them. That I appreciate.
Absolutely, because I mean, if you look at the precedent, sometimes it was a point worth questioning because you mentioned our inaugural trios champions, Team Havoc with Angelico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc. Well, they won the tournament, which was just a grueling tournament and a grueling final, and then they had to beat the original crew, but they did though. You know what I mean? So it's nice to see sometimes the other end of the spectrum being visited where no, these odds are too overwhelming. I can't overcome them. Not everything has to be my odds and, just overcoming and being triumphant. It's nice to see a babyface struggle. Hell, to me, that's one of the reasons why they're a babyface to begin with, because, of the struggles they endure. And yeah, Dr. Wagner Jr. beats Son of Havoc. They get the money. I love the little bit where Brenda and Famous B are like, we're rich. And Matt Striker's just like, you mean Dr. Wagner's rich? Even after you're 10%, I mean, he's still richer than you guys are. But no, I mean, you could clearly tell where Famous B and Brenda's heads are at. And Dr. Wagner Jr. makes a successful debut at Ultima Lucha Dos. I mean, just freaking great way to introduce this legend into the fold. I got enough good things to say about it, and yeah, this was fantastic. This is great.
Yeah, man. I love that at the Lucha Libre World Cup, the first one in 2015, we were first introduced to this guy, and I was like, oh man, it was like on this Mexican Legends team, and I was like, oh, he was with Blue Demon Jr. and El Solar, and they were doing their submissions, and it was cool. And then we looked them up, and it was like, oh man, like El Solar was almost 60, and then Blue Demon and this guy were around 50, and I was like, wow, this is so cool for these guys to have this last hurrah. And then the 2016 Lucha Libre World Cup shows up, and he's on a team with Rey Mysterio and El Dragon Azteca Jr., and it's just like, no, he's not done yet. And then he shows up at Ultima Lucha Dos and wins $250,000, 25 of which is probably going to go to Famous B. And I just love it, man. It's just so cool that he's just like, 51, age is nothing but a number, you fool.
Exactly. Dude, that man is a beast. So all the respect in the world to him, even though he did peg the bones. Hell, I'm Johnny Scumbag. If I can't appreciate that, who the hell can? And that's how we end night one of Ultima Lucha Dos. I thought it was a great night. Very fun, again, especially with Falls Count Anywhere being really a fantastic opener and great tone setter for the event as a whole. Partner, I've got nothing else to say about these two episodes. We really blazed through this. Unless you have any concluding remarks, I'm good to go, man.
I feel like our last few episodes of Lucha Rewatch have been a little bit shorter. I know last week's was only like 50 minutes, so.
Yeah. Keeping that pace, man.
Yeah, all right, well. Next week, though, we will be covering the final episode of Lucha Rewatch, which is going to be covering the final two episodes of Lucha Underground Season 2, episodes 25 and 26, nights 2 and 3 of Ultima Lucha Dos. You know what? I'm gonna pull up the episode titles. I think the episode titles are just Ultima Lucha Dos Part 2 and Ultima Lucha Dos Part 3. But, yeah, that's correct. But I can tell you a brief rundown of the matches that we're going to be getting. Cuerno Muertes next week, Gift of the Gods next week, and then on part 3 of Mysterio Puma, obviously the main event, Pentagon Matanza, Phoenix, Drago, and Aerostar versus Worldwide Underground, Ivelisse Taya, and Black Lotus, El Dragon Azteca Jr. So, quite a lineup for next week's Lucha Rewatch. We've got, I think, like 7 or 8 matches to cover. It's going to be great. And, of course, I also want to remind everybody that we will not be reviewing NXT tonight. However, finally, PWG Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll is available for digital download. So we will be live reacting to that tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Or if you're not on the East Coast and you don't feel like figuring out what time that is, the exact same time we start Lucha Rewatch every single week, except one day later. So 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 noon on the West Coast of the U.S., and if you're in the UK, 8 p.m. So prime time, baby, for the UK folks. I'm looking very much forward to this show because we're getting the PWG debuts of Keith Lee, who is a big hybrid of the Mac and and Cage, big gigantic scary dude that can lift people up and jump around like a friggin' cruiserweight. He's nuts. And an actual cruiserweight, Desmond Xavier, who's the second coming of Ricochet and Amazing. And I think this might also be PWG debut for Shane Strickland, who we know lovingly as Killshot, who I believe is in the Gift of the Gods tournament, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah, he has a medallion. He's in the Gift of the Gods match next week, so that'll be fun too. But Shane Strickland's in a match against Desmond Xavier on tomorrow on Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll. So yes, looking very much forward to that. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., make sure that you remember to mark that on your calendars and be there. And until then, I guess just check out the description, like the video if you haven't already, subscribe if you're interested in knowing when we upload or when we go live. If you really want to know when we go live, you can subscribe and then click the little bell icon so that you can get notified. Check out all of the Lucha Underground related playlists in the description. Lucha Underground Season 1 reviews, Lucha Rewatch Season 1, Season 2 reviews and live reactions, and of course, we are now on episode 12 of 13 for Lucha Rewatch Season 2. And, of course, other ways to support us on Patreon and Teespring. We also have social media, Twitter, follow both of us, and Facebook, like it. And, of course, if you're a Redditor, check out the TWitWoW subreddit. We'll upload or share, rather, all of our videos to that subreddit. And there we go, guys. We will see you all tomorrow afternoon for PWG Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll live reactions. Stay tuned.